Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is James Bradley. I'm a real estate agent here in Lexington, Kentucky. I've been working in real estate for 15 years. I've been with National Real Estate here in Lexington since I moved here in 2025. I'm excited to introduce you to Andrew Wilson, real estate agent and brokerage owner. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being with us. So we're going to bring together the keys to the deal. This is going to be a 10-part series on buying and selling a home. We built this series to give people a real, honest, no pressure guide to one of the biggest financial decisions of their life. So we're going to cover 10 episodes over the coming months here. We have 5 episodes on buying and 5 on selling. Today, we're going to cover is now the right time to buy. We're going to see what it's like to get into that mental space of ensuring that you are prepared not only financially, but emotionally to purchase your first home. And this is especially important with first-time home buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the time to buy is definitely a nuanced answer. There's a mixture of personal readiness with market conditions. In any type of investing, people always say don't time the market. So I think that first and foremost, you need to be committed to, it is my time to purchase real estate. It's my time to buy this home. It's my family's time to buy this home, etc. And once that box is checked, there might be some indicators that allow you to fluctuate on the timing of it. But I think it's more important to consider perhaps the house, right? We want you to walk into this home and say, this is the one. And a lot of the work that comes before that is how to get ready to be in that position so that you don't miss out on the one.
Absolutely. One of the biggest issues I've seen, again, going back to first-time home buyers, is really understanding if you're ready personally. Before you have all the financial aspects there, getting into that emotion trap is something that so many people find themselves withholding true information about where they are. So if you're feeling pressure from your family or your friends or even external factors such as the market, it may not be the right time for you. And so getting into that aspect of whether or not buying a home is right for you right now is really important and something we're addressing in this first episode.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. Buying based on emotion is something you really do not want to do. We see so much in the market right now, especially over the last 5 years. You see interest rates were really low during COVID, and so many people were trying to get into a home for a lot of various different reasons. It was a very chaotic time, and now we see interest rates starting to lower a little bit as of early March, and that's really not the only factor you need to consider, especially to anything else that comes up within your life, such as your friends, or you're just simply tired of renting. It's really not the single factor that you need to consider. You go ahead, Andrew, please.
Well, I was going to just jump in and say that the first pillar up there is my finances are in order. And I think that, a lot of people, when they overextend themselves, it's because of they have not done their due diligence prior to submitting the contract. That could lead to a lot of things. Most importantly, or most, I guess, detrimental to the purchase would be that you could end up being house poor, which you got this great house, but you can't go out on the weekends and enjoy life, or you didn't do the research on the front end with your real estate agent to, look at the area that you're moving into, the social scene, the school districts, the amenities that surround you. And then 2 is that, if you deplete your assets to, something that's not sustainable in case of an emergency, like a HVAC repair or a plumbing issue or something like that, then that's when the problems generally seem to pop out. So,
Absolutely. So you really have to ask yourself, are you ready in your life? And Andrew's going to take you through these 4 pillars here that we really like to walk through with our clients to make sure that they are prepared.
Yeah, well, when we talk about stability, and the question there is, do you plan to stay in the area for at least 3 to 5 years? Now, we know that life happens, right? You could get a new job offer in a new city. You could have an unexpected pregnancy. There could be a death. There could be a divorce. There could be taxes. There, all the certainties in life can come up. Life happens, right? But as realtors, a lot of the things that we end up doing is protecting the equity purchase. That comes on the buy side first. It does come on the sell side in the end and pricing strategy and things of that nature. But when you have a competent realtor to assist you in purchasing a home, not only do they know market conditions and comparable market analysis of homes, they're going to make sure that you purchase correctly. And that's the easiest way to win financially, is to make the purchase the correct way. If you end up purchasing and then selling within a year or 2 years, right, there are also going to be tax consequences. However, there's not really going to be a whole lot of, increase in valuation. In years 3 to 5, that's when you start seeing the equity increase in your home. Number one, you've paid down some of your mortgage, and maybe perhaps you've done some improvements on the home. But then also too is that the market conditions, barring any unforeseen circumstances, your equity should increase during that time, therefore allowing you to leave that situation, sell without an equity loss. And number two, you always want to think about employment. Are you thinking about changing jobs? Are you thinking about starting a business? Lots of different factors where you have a secure income is going to definitely help you be the most ready to buy. Is your income stable? Does it fluctuate with other market conditions? And then also lifestyle. This is the big boy, big girl decision. Once you purchase and sign the contract, you are financially responsible for this mortgage payment. Now, a lot of people think, well, I've paid rent for this many years and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that is a predecessor or a good litmus test to prove that you're financially ready to purchase a house. But when you own the house and you have other factors coming into the equation where the landlord doesn't pay the repair bill, now it becomes your responsibility to pay the repair bill or improve upon the home. Does your lifestyle accommodate the unforeseen? And I think that's a very a good reason for you to have a level of security or layer of security, which is a reserve fund or an emergency fund, probably somewhere around 3 to 6 months of living expenses, mortgage payments included. So, and then your motivation, number 4, that's really probably the biggest of them all, is are you ready for the right reasons? Don't be pressured, right, by the societal norms of, okay, you got married, now you need to buy a house, or okay, now you graduated college, now you need to buy a house. I think that you need to lean into that gut instinct of yours that says, this is something that I want, and this is the work that has to be done leading up to the purchase. And then once that's all settled, you're going to end up being a lot more prepared. Your motivation is going to be a lot clearer to you. So,
absolutely. And as we move into the actual financial aspects that everybody needs to consider, and please be sure to tune in for episode 2, because we will be bringing in a guest, a lender who will be going into depth on each of these elements and much more, and what that process looks like. But to give you a brief overview, the 4 primary aspects is your credit score. Not that you need to have a 700 plus credit score, because there are a lot of programs that are available, but having as best a credit score as possible for your best rates and terms to give you more financial flexibility. Then you have your debt to income ratio. Again, it's not a hard and fast rule, but a lot of lenders will look at your DTI and look at where it is in retrospect to what is going to get you, again, the best rates and terms. Your down payment, most people, it is a big myth, is that you need to have 20% down payment. And that's just simply not true. There's a lot of different options out there, again, for first-time home buyers. Depending on what state you're in as well, you may have state programs that are available to you to help you with your down payment. So having a great financial lender who can look at all the different elements, and where you are financially can help you with that down payment if necessary. And as Andrew referenced before, having an emergency fund, it's absolutely critical. Even before your down payment, ensuring that you have expenses to cover something that can go awry. This last 2 winters, really, here in Kentucky, we've had some phenomenal ice storms, and that caused a lot of issues for people. If you bought an older house, you have maybe a roof that's 25, 30 years old that needs to be replaced, and that can be very expensive. So it's great to have an emergency fund, not just for potential repairs, but also for anything that may happen in your life that comes at you. Again, going into the credit score issue, you can look here on the screen and know that if you're below 620, by the way, you can go on annualcreditreport.com, check your free credit report, get that information. If there's any issues there that need to be taken care of, be sure to dispute any errors before applying for a loan. But if you're below 620, you're probably going to need to do a bit of work. Your options are going to be fairly limited. So give yourself 6 months to really start working on that credit score. And if you're below 700, that's okay. Again, I would try and fix it as much as possible. But go ahead and reach out to a lender and begin to understand where you are with your credit. And a lot of good ones will help you work through on the best way to raise that credit score.
Utilize it. I'll answer that in there as well.
We have the debt to income ratio. Andrew, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. It's basically a simple calculation of how much you earn, in gross versus your monthly debt obligations. And so, if you have the car payment, if you have unsecured credit card debt, if you have an additional mortgage payment where you're looking to, can I buy before I sell the previous house? If $1,500 in monthly debts, divide that by 5,000, there's 30%, right? So it's a pretty simple calculation. Most lenders will want 43% or lower. And then the FHA has different threshold if you have strong credit, of course. But the lower your DTI, the more purchasing power you have. It's a pretty simple calculation, but it's something that you really want to take into consideration when you're talking about affordability. There are different calculators that you can say, hey, let me plug in these numbers for a mortgage payment. But there's also calculators where you can plug in your DTI or to determine your DTI rather, to say, what can I afford? What's the affordability? And I know affordability was a big word in 2025. And I think 2026, it's a relative term that we want to keep in consideration.
Just to bounce off that, it's a little cliche, but there is a term out there saying you want to own the house, you don't want the house to own you. And so that's a lot of what the lender is going to be looking at. Again, please stay through for episode 2. We're going to go into much more detail regarding all the financial elements. But it's true, you do want to have a home that you feel that you're under control with, and the mortgage doesn't get out of control. And as we can see right now, there's a lot of other external world factors that are driving prices. So ensuring that you have the home that you want, hopefully it's your dream home, but also something that you don't see yourself becoming overwhelmed with in making a payment. So that's why it's really important to understand where you are financially with your debts before you move ahead with a loan. But then coming down to, myth and reality with your down payment. A lot of times people, they come, especially again, first-time home buyers, they think they need 20% down. There's a lot of great programs out there. You have your Federal Housing Authority, your FHA loans, VA loans. If you're a veteran, there's phenomenal programs out there for you. If you're in a rural area, there's a lot of USDA programs. And but even with a conventional loan, you can get down to as low as 3%. Again, that's going to be based off of your credit score, but certainly within your state, you can have a lot of different programs that are available to help you with that down payment. So be sure to, as you interview a lot of different real estate agents, be sure to interview a lot of different lenders as well that you work with and can help you with your specific financial situation. And your safety net. So I'm going to let Andrew talk about this one again.
Yeah, this is probably the most important. And, we talk about in the investment world is like your risk tolerance. I think that's a good segue into what your safety net is. 2 to 3 months, might be good for some people. Sometimes people say 3 to 6 months. we want to have money in reserves for the unforeseen. So you do have the down payment. So look at bucket one, upfront cost to secure your loan, right? Anywhere from 0 to 20%. Now, I might have a philosophy that says that, well, I'm going to take as much money from the bank as responsibly as I can, because it's a loan. So if I want to put down 3% on a conventional, it might make more sense to me. Whereas in somebody else says, well, no, I want my payment to be this. So I'm going to put down 10%, 15 or 20% or even more. And then when you take the other position of the unforeseen, the things you can't control, in the emergency fund of bucket two, 2 to 3 months of living expenses. That's beyond your down payment for repairs, surprises, peace of mind, things like that. And what we don't want to do, James, is we don't want to deplete all of our resources just to buy a house. We want to have the tertiary savings account, the just in case money, the rainy day fund. That way you can afford to keep the house if something happens while you search for another job, or you end up supplementing your income in other ways. You overcome a sickness or an illness. Lots of different ways to do that. Sometimes it's insurance, sometimes it's a forced savings account, but money that you can use in the event of something that's unforeseen.
Absolutely. It's great to be honest with yourself on where you are financially, and make sure that this one comes in to consideration when you are looking at buying a home. All right, well, let's jump into everybody's favorite terminology here: a buyer's market and a seller's market. And one thing I like to say too is we're rarely ever in an equilibrium. We're most likely always in a buyer's market or a seller's market. There's a lot of different questions as to what goes into each one. You can see on the screen here, there's typically in a buyer's market, you have more inventory, which gives you more leverage. Of course, too, in a buyer's market, you're probably going to have more buyers. So you're going to have, a little bit more competition, not necessarily getting into bidding wars, but it does have a certain aspect to it in people who are coming into the market and competing with you. But you do have stable prices, so it gives you more time to consider what you're going to do and make the right decision for you, as opposed to in a seller's market where you have more urgency, you have lower inventory, you do get into those bidding wars, and you do have rising prices. So you never want to be pressured, especially into making the largest investment in your life with that. But oftentimes life can come at you and you don't know how long you can wait. And so you're operating usually in either a buyer's market or a seller's market. Is there anything I missed there, Andrew?
No, I think that's great. I think that a lot of the factors that you're going to implement into this equation is you're going to minimize your risk. I think that that's a key component in any type of purchase. We talked earlier about eliminating the emotion. So in a seller's market that we saw here, during post-COVID interest rates, being sub 3%, you had multiple offers, 11 offers, 17 offers, cash, no inspections, all these crazy things. And then people fell in love with the house, but did not maybe consider the fact that they were going to overpay for a potential market shift and in 2 to 3 years, or they allowed that emotional connection to a house that they desperately wanted, right? And then they got bid up, right? And perhaps they overlooked a couple of issues with the home, like the roof was aging or the HVAC was old or whatever it is. So you're going to have this compounding effect of a bidding war. Now, I will say that in Lexington, Kentucky, it's March 9th, Monday, March 9th of 2026. And if you find this video 2 years from now, this could be a different scenario. But I would say here in Lexington, Kentucky on this day, that it's going to be a little bit more of a buyer's market. Now, it's more nuanced than that, right? Because I still do see multiple offers on homes that are the premier properties. So if you get into a specific area with a level of finish in a home that's just top notch, you're probably going to enter into, multiple offer situation. If that's the case, then you need to rely upon your realtor and the due diligence that you both have done to make an educated decision on, is the juice, worth the squeeze. So, but in the seller's market, obviously everything sells fast with multiple offers. And in a buyer's market, you do have a little bit more room to negotiate. A trusted realtor will help you with informing you on helping you make the best decision that you can make in that situation.
Absolutely. And just as a quick anecdote, going back to my first year, it was maybe my second year in Los Angeles, and we were in a seller's market. And we had a client that we had been working with for about 8 to 12 months, and he was extremely prepared. We made sure that everything was ready to go. He had a great offer to come in, and he finally found his perfect home for he and his wife and his soon-to-be child. And we knew that it was going to be an extremely tough situation in a bidding war. Well, we came in, come to find out at the end, there were 26 other offers on that one property. And we actually did not have the highest and best offer, but we did have the best terms for the seller. We were very close, we found out. But it was because we were so prepared and ready to make the best offer for that property. And the seller and their agent understood that they had the best chance to get this price that they wanted, which was above asking, because we were in that bidding war. But because they were so prepared and they were ready to make that offer, it was much less stressful than many other people were going through. And too, during a seller's market, I've seen so many people make emotional pleas, writing letters to the sellers. And oftentimes with a great real estate agent, they remove a lot of the emotion that's involved, and they can look at and understand, look, we may not even have the highest priced offer available, but we have the best terms. We have somebody who understands and is in the best position to purchase this home without it having fall through or go through any contentious issues during the closing process. So in each market, it brings its own unique elements to it. So being able to walk through each side with an experienced real estate agent is very important. Okay. All right. And moving on to everyone's favorite topic, are interest rates. Andrew, what do you have on interest rates?
Well, definitely a significant factor when it comes to your monthly payment, your total repayment. We want to take into consideration a couple different factors. Number one, that the rates will fluctuate. A good lender is going to lock in that rate at the opportune time. But you really want to consider a couple different things. Historically, what are interest rates? My parents' interest rates won't be mine. And, if you do find the house that is absolutely the one, and you're waiting on a quarter point or a half point interest rate fluctuation, it's probably not really all that big of a deal, because there's going to be probably an opportunity for you to refinance at a specific time. Also, your mortgage is going to be paid down, in so many years to a lower total fluctuation. So, they say you can refinance the rate, you can't rewind time. There's another anecdote that says, marry the house, date the rate. All these things are, nuanced and relative. However, there is some truth to it. And I think that, once you go through the process of identifying the correct home for you and your family, a slight quarter point or half a point is not going to make a huge difference if you can recoup that money into the future with another good financial decision with the help of a local lender. So.
Absolutely. And I know we're a little short on time here, but I did want to show everyone here a little bit of a checklist that you can screenshot this. I'm actually going to include it down in the link below that you can download. This is your green light checklist, just as you prepare, whether you're going to interview a realtor and then a lender, or a lender and you want to go talk to them. This is pretty much an overview of what we've discussed today. Print it out and just begin to go through over the next couple of months and look through where you are in the process of wanting to buy a home, and just use this as a general checklist to get prepared to enter into the market of buying a home. And, really we've discussed all this here. I think the most important thing going back to it is the emotional aspect of things. Yes, you need to get all your finances in order and having a great lender, or maybe it's your CPA that you need to talk to. Just making sure you're emotionally ready, because it can be a process. A lot of people, as my anecdote before, we were on the hunt for 8 to 12 months to find the right home. But it was the right home for them, and they've found themselves they've doubled their home value over 10 years. And they've absolutely loved it there, and they've grown there. So finding the right home for you can be the process that is an emotional one. But when you're ready and you can make those great offers, and you're on your way to home ownership. So again, we'll have this down in the link below for you to download. And and so please join us in the next episode, Getting Pre-Approved. That is the first real step in the process of finding your home. We're going to bring on Ashley Smith, a lender here, local in Lexington, Kentucky, and we're very excited to hear what she has to say. And thanks again for joining us. Again, my name's James Bradley, and
I'm
with
Andrew
Wilson. Yep. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us.